Guys, I'm extremely excited to be here today. Throughout this entire talk, you guys are going to find out more about me, what I've done. And you see the title of my talk is How I Made $100,000 by 14 years old. Now, what I want to start off by saying is, first of all, I'm extremely humbled to be on this stage because, you know, the entire team that put this event together, let's give a hand clap for them real quick. The entire team that put this together, they've been telling us how amazing you guys are, how much you guys are killers, getting it done, making the cash, impacting people. That's absolutely amazing. And I'm humbled to be 14 years old and being able to stand up on this sacred stage and be talking to you guys today. But also at the same time, I feel really excited because I know that I really do deserve this. And I know you may be sitting there like, this kid's 14, what can he tell me? I have 30 years of experience and, insurance and all this stuff, whatever that may be. But I just hope you guys keep an open mind and really listen to what I'm going to talk about today because I want to tell you guys how I made $100,000 by 14 years old. And I know it seems like crazy, like this 14-year-old made $100,000, but yes, it's true. I made $100,000 by 14 years old. So let me share with you guys the 5 ways that I did this. Number 1, the first thing that I did, the clicker's now, oh, there we go. The first thing that I did to make $100,000 by 14 years old is I became anti-gun. Can you guys say anti-gun? Everybody's saying anti-gun. Like they don't know if they should be saying that, And I know it's like, how did he make $100,000 by becoming anti-gun? So the reason I'm anti-gun is because of this. I live by this quote. The gun that kills the most people is the gunna. So you see, I'm not saying that I'm anti-gun, I'm against guns in America, this or that. I'm saying I'm against people who say that they're gonna do something. You see, my dad's taught me ever since I was extremely young to write out my goals. One of the goals that I wrote out ever since I'm 14 years old now, whenever I was 12 years old, I wrote out a goal to write a book. Because I read a lot of books, I just thought it would be so cool. Like, I will have arrived if I write a book. So I wrote out this goal, and I wrote it out like every single day for a year. I will write a book. I'm going to write a book whenever I'm 20 years old. That's what I said. I'm going to write a book whenever I'm 20 years old. That was the thing that I was going to do. And one day as I was writing down, I'm going to write a book whenever I'm 20 years old, it came to me. Why do I have to wait until I'm 20 years old? Like, why do I have to wait? What's stopping me from doing it now? So I went up to my dad. I said, Dad, can I write a book? How do I write a book? He said, just do it. So I went into my room. I closed the door, and I got like in an insane focus mode. And I literally pulled out the notes on my phone and started typing away. And next thing you know, about a month or 2 later, I published my first book called Keys to Success for Kids. Now, you see, I kept saying that I was going to write this book. I kept saying that I'm going to, do this, and I'm going to publish it whenever I'm 20 years old. And I decided, you know what? Let me do it now. So here's what happened after I did that. It started to go viral. People started to find out about me. Forbes wanted to write an article about me, so I got featured in Forbes. I also had a video that hit 3 million views, and I started pushing out a bunch of content and went huge on social media. I got featured in Huffington Post as well. I went on national television, and over 8 million people seen that interview that I did. I was also voted in the top 20 most motivational influencers on the planet. And this is all because I wrote my book, not to mention Inc. also said that I'm going to be a millionaire within 2 years. Now, guys, I know we all have that goal to be a millionaire. There's probably some millionaires in this room, but I think that's pretty cool that Inc. said that. So my goal is actually to be a millionaire this year, so they were kind of wrong, but... And guys, that's the thing. You see, I was also voted in the top 30 entrepreneurs under 30 creating life on their own terms. And all of this happened because I wrote that book, because I stopped saying I'm going to, and I took action. And that's me speaking with Darren Hardy and Danelle Delgado and all these amazing people I've spoken since then with Grant Cardone, Darren Hardy, Gary Vaynerchuk, Ken Shamrock, and he mentioned everybody I've spoken with just a little bit before this. But guys, that all happened because I wrote this book, because I kept saying I'm gonna. I kept saying I'm gonna write a book. I kept saying I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I stopped saying I'm going to, and I actually did it. And you see, you have to understand, the greatest book ever written wasn't written. The greatest song ever sung wasn't sung. The greatest speech ever given wasn't given. And the reason why, it was an idea, and they didn't execute on it. See, there's somebody that if a year ago they would have started a YouTube channel or something like that and started pushing out content, today they would have millions of subscribers, be impacting millions of people, and be making tens of millions of dollars a year. There's somebody in this room with $1 million idea, but the problem is they're putting in a minimum wage execution. So the first way that I made $100,000 by 14 years old is I stopped saying that I'm going to do something, and I actually took action. That's the first thing I did. So I want everybody in this room right now to think in their mind, what's an idea that I've had? What's something that I've been wanting to do? See, a lot of people are killing their dreams with this gun. They keep saying, I'm going to spend more time with my family. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do this, or that. And they keep saying they're going to. They're not actually. So that's the first thing that I did. So everybody in your mind right now, think to yourself, what's one idea that I haven't taken action on yet? What can I do to take action and make that happen? That's the first thing. See, guys, you have to understand this. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Let me put it to you guys this way, okay? Michael Jordan. Now, raise your hand if you know who Michael Jordan is. Good. There's some people who are uneducated and don't know who that guy is. That's unbelievable. But Michael Jordan, okay? Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player on the planet. My dad argues that Kobe's better. There's a little debate going on. But Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player that's ever played on this planet. Now, let's take this analogy, all right? I want you guys to think of it this way. You take Michael Jordan right here. You take me right here, the greatest basketball player ever, a 14-year-old kid with very little basketball experience. Okay, you take a hoop right there. You give us both the ball, and then you tell me to shoot it into the hoop, and you tell Michael Jordan to hold it. Who has a better chance of making it in? Me. Exactly. I have a better chance of making it in. Why is that? It's not because I'm better than Michael Jordan by any means. It's because I'm able to take a shot, and he's not. You see, there's some people in this room who have unlimited potential, who are able to do amazing things, who can be in the best in the world at what they're doing, but they're not taking risks. They're not taking the shot, and that's why people who are lesser than them and don't have as much talent are passing them up. See, I used to get annoyed whenever I used to see kids in school who were getting better grades than me, and I knew that I was smarter than them, but I realized it's because they studied harder, they sat there and they did it, and they stopped saying they're going to study this or that. They took action, they were the first people to do the assignment, etc. So understand, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Now, how many people in this room have watched Shark Tank? A lot of people in this room have watched Shark Tank. So one of the sharks, the original shark on Shark Tank, he was on Shark Tank for 3 seasons. His name is Kevin Harrington. Now, Kevin Harrington was the original shark from Shark Tank on for 3 years, and I watched Shark Tank every single day from probably 9 to 11 years old. I watched this guy. I kept it, and I said, man, I got to meet this guy. I got to meet him somehow. So little did I know, there was actually an event that came up a little bit, probably a couple months ago, maybe 9 or 10 months ago, and the event Kevin Harrington was going to be at. Now, I was like, as soon as I heard that this was going to happen, I was extremely pumped up, and I said, I have to show up to this event. So me and my dad got it. We got there. We went to the event, and Kevin Harrington was sitting there with probably, I don't know, there was probably like 5 to 6 really big guys that were surrounded all around him. And I sat there, and I was looking at Kevin Harrington. I wanted to meet him, but he was talking. He was doing all this stuff, and I thought that maybe I should just say hi, but I wasn't sure. So what I did is I said, you know what? This is the rule that I live by. I live by the 1, 2, 3 rule. So I count 1, 2, 3, and then I go. So I said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3. And as soon as I'm going to say 3, I'm going to go and meet him. And I took this miniature risk, right? I said 1, 2, 3. And I ran up. I walked up to him. I said hello. I shook his hand. And he we started chatting a little bit. I told him about my book. I asked him a bunch of questions. We started to make a little bit of a connection. But it didn't really go anywhere. We just kind of met each other, and that was great. He went back to talking to everybody. So at the end of the event, we were done all networking and stuff like that. So he walks outside. He's going to his car. He has some security people around him. He has his team all around him. You could tell he's kind of just ready to leave. And I was like, man, I got to get a Starbucks with this guy. I got to meet up with him somehow. So that's what I said. Got to meet up with him somehow. So I said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3. And I went straight to him. And I ran outside. I walked up to him. I shook his hand. I said, Mr. Harrington, what's it going to take for me to get a 15-minute Starbucks with you? And I can just ask you any question. He said, you know what? I respect the fact you took risks, you weren't nervous, and you had confidence. You know what? I want to meet up with you. So after that, I met up with him. He actually, after we met up a little bit, he decided that he wanted to interview me on his TV show, Mentor to Millions. I got a bunch of new exposure from that. Then we got an opportunity to speak together. And the next thing you know, we did a business partnership. So I'm officially business partners with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. Now, the reason why this happened is because I didn't sit there and say, you know what, I want to meet this guy, but I shouldn't be rude. I shouldn't make this happen. I said, you know what, I'm going to take this minor risk, and I'll get a major payoff. So I took this risk. I walk up to him, and next thing you know, we're business partners. And they see if I wouldn't have taken that minor risk, if I wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't be business partners. We wouldn't have spoken together. We wouldn't have done an interview. I wouldn't have gotten all the knowledge that I've had from him. So the thing is, the moral of the story for that is, listen, you have to take risks. You have to walk up to your opportunities and go after it. See, the reason that some people are poor is because they're passing over opportunities repeatedly. It's all about taking risks. You can either have risks or regret. Those two things. What hurts more, the pain of hard work or the pain of regret? So that's the first secret that I did, is I stopped saying I'm going to take action, and I actually did. I took action, I took risks, and it's paid off in enormous ways. And then he also just texted me this the other day. Thanks, buddy. Travel safe. We'll make millions together. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. So the second thing I did, and this is one of the most important ones I want you guys to all pay attention to. Can I get everybody's attention on this one point? I refused to be average. I refused to be average. Now, I was hanging out this week with Russell Brunson. He's the founder of ClickFunnels. He makes millions of dollars a month. He owns a company that has 20,000 members, a continuity model, so they're paid monthly. He's an amazing guy. I got to hang out with him for 2 days straight. And he told me a story that I thought was personally probably one of the best stories that I've ever heard. So he was a wrestler. So he wrestled from middle school, high school, and all the way into college. Now, whenever he was in high school, or actually in middle school, his dad took him to a state championship game. So, you can see right there, that's what the state championship looks like. So, his dad, Russell Brunson's dad, took him to the state championship game, and after watching all these guys go back and forth, battling together, like punch each other in the face, having all this fun, he was like, man, it would be amazing if I could win a state championship. So, all the way from middle school up until high school, he dedicated himself to winning the state championship. That was his one goal. So Russell Brunson is working extremely hard. Next thing you know, he gets to his senior year of high school, and he wins the state championship. He wins the state championship. It's amazing. He was super pumped up. He got all these medals. He was getting offers from colleges. It was a great deal. And then Russell Brunson, he noticed that there was another kid on his team, because how wrestlers have teams. There was another kid on his team that exact same senior year who won the national championship. And he started thinking to himself, why did I win the state, which is amazing, but he won the national championship? And here's what he said. The kid who won the national championship, his dad took him to a national championship wrestling match instead of the state championship. So his goal was to win the national championship rather than the state. And he sat there and said it was amazing that he won the state, but he wishes he won the national. He wondered why. And he figured out it was this. Because one kid, he had his mind, Russell Brunson had his mind on winning the state, and the other kid had his mind on winning the nationals. It was all about their perspective. It was all about what they were aiming for, what they were shooting for. So you see, you can have your goal to make $500,000 this year. You might hit that. But I promise you, if you would aim for $1 million, $2 million, if you would refuse to be average, that's when you'll truly get results. That's the number one thing that you have to do. There's never been a ground ball derby. There's always a home run. Why? Because it's average. We don't want to see ground balls hit. We want to see the dingers. So why not swing for the fences? Oprah didn't get to where Oprah is because she was average. Steve Jobs didn't get to where he was and built this amazing company because he thought, man, I would like to make the Apple product and get it into 100 people's hands. No, he was thinking global. Stop being okay with just being okay. Stop being okay with having a flat stomach. Go for a six-pack. You guys can currently see my six-pack. You see that? Stop being okay with just making $100,000. Go for $1 million. Stop being okay with $1 million. Go for $10 million. Always be upping yourself. It's like Grant Cardone says from the 10X rule. You got to 10X what you're doing. If you want something, what's 10 times that? That should be your goal. I started off last year. My goal was to make, I think I wanted to make $100,000 by 16 years old. And then I changed my goal from wanting to make $100,000 to then wanting to make $100,000 by 14 years old by the end of 14. And then I accomplished that, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I aim for $1 million by 14? And I wanted to be a millionaire by 18 and move down, because I'm constantly trying to move the ladder, constantly trying to move in place. So guys, if I were you, this is the number one thing I'll do. Stop being average. Stop being okay with just being okay. This is the worst thing that you can do. The third secret that I made, the third way that I made $100,000 by 14 years old is I became obsessed. Now I want you to really pay attention on this one because I give away a lot of keys to success. My book is called Keys to Success for Kids. So like, I know there's all this talk going around like, here's the secret or the secret to success, this or that. But what I've realized, because I've been able to hang out with billionaires, millionaires, people that are celebrities, all these successful people, and I'm constantly trying to, who is it? I think it's Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield who says success leaves clues. So I'm constantly trying to find these clues and see what it is that makes somebody here and makes somebody here. And I've started to realize it's not hard work. It's not the amount that they learn. It's not the amount that they give. All of that all factors in. That's extremely important. But I've realized is the number one thing is the people who are the most obsessive will always get the most results. The people who are the most obsessive will always get the most results. Mark Cuban, multi-billionaire, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, been on Shark Tank, all the things he's doing, he didn't take a vacation for 7 years. Now, I'm not telling you guys not to take a vacation for 7 years, but I'm telling you, the reason he did this is not because he thought, I have to make money, so this, that. It's because he loved what he did so much. It has to be an obsession. I'm going to be honest. I just went on a week vacation, I think it was 4 weeks ago, about a month ago with some of my family. And the entire time, I was literally thinking of ways to make my business better. And it was like, I didn't want to because I wanted it to be a vacation. I wanted to take it back. But I had to become obsessive. I had to obsess with my dream. I had to obsess with my goal. Beyonce went 2 days without eating and sleeping because she was so focused on her one dream. She didn't know why she did it. She just did it that way because she was obsessive. You got to get obsessive. Law of attraction, great. I believe in law of attraction. Plenty of times I've wished for something and then I've gotten results. I wrote out a goal every single day. That's the number one thing I do. Write out my goals. One of my goals was to speak with Tony Robbins. I just got invited to speak with him. So I write out my stuff, and law of attraction is great, but let me tell you the number one thing that's more important than law of attraction. Law of attraction does not work without this, the law of action. You can sit in a corner all you want, cross your fingers, and hope that everything will work in place for you. But unless you're working, nothing else will work. The only thing that works is work. Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, they once went almost, I think it was 4 to 5 days without sleep. They got a sleep disease after this, but it's because they were so busy creating the Mac that they forgot to. Now, I'm telling you all these stories. I'm not telling you to go 4 days without sleep. I'm not telling you to never eat. I'm not telling you to only be thinking about work all the time. But I'm telling you this. You're never going to see results without being obsessive. You're never, that's the number one trait that I've had is I'm obsessive. 4 years ago, if you would have seen me do magic, you guys would have been blown away. For real. I was a good magician. I could make stuff disappear. I could, do the blanket trick and make somebody fly. It was crazy, all the things I could do. But that was because I was so extremely obsessive with that one thing. That was all I focused on was magic. It was the same thing with baseball. Baseball, that was my entire goal. I wanted to be the shortstop for the New York Yankees. That was my vision. That was my dream. But I went from being the worst, the shortest, and the worst in the entire league to becoming the Florida All-Star within 1 year because all I did for an entire year was focus on my goal. Shortstop for New York Yankees. I had visions. I had vision board on my wall. My entire wall was painted in Yankee colors. That was the only thing. So here's going back to what I'm saying. Just become obsessed. If you're not obsessive with your dream, if you don't really love it, then get a new one. It's 2016. There's a kid on YouTube who loves Disney toys, so he started a YouTube channel. He's showing Disney toys, and this kid is 9 years old, making millions of dollars a year from sponsorships by Disney. Disney. Who would think that a 9-year-old can make money doing what they like? Well, they can. My business partner, her name is Emily Shea. She's 11 years old. She wrote a book called The 5 Steps to a Perfect Sleepover, went and sold it to car dealerships, made over $20,000. At 11 years old, we're talking about sleepovers. How can you make money off that? That's what I'm saying. If you're not obsessive, with your dream, change it. Get a new one. But you have to find something that's the only thing you want to do. No one has to push me because my passion pulls me. No one has to push me because my passion pulls me. No one has to push me because my passion pulls me. That's the thing that you got to get to, is the place where your passion is waking you up out of bed. I'll wake up some days at 3 a.m. because I'm can I get back to work? Can I get back to doing what I love? That's what it's about. That's the place you have to get to. So here are the things I became obsessed with. Personal growth. mastering sales, gratitude, health and fitness, character and integrity. And I want to touch on gratitude real quick for a second. I'm going to go through some of these. I want to touch on gratitude for a second because a lot of people, they're unhappy, negative people. Like, that's just what they are. Like, they get cut over in traffic, and the one thing they post in the entire day is, I just got cut off, but they also didn't post whenever somebody gave them something or this or that. Let me talk about this for a second. The math behind being a human being is unbelievable. Like, okay, let's just walk through it, okay? Say that your parents, say your parents met at a grocery store. Say that your dad decided, I need gas, so I'm going to go this way, and your mom still went to the grocery store, and they never met. You're not alive. Wouldn't happen. All right, now let's say that they did meet, but they didn't find attraction. Just normal, they didn't find attraction. Done. You're still not alive. Now let's say that they met, they found attraction, and they started dating a little bit, but broke up, never had you. Done. Now let's say that they liked each other, found attraction, never broke up, got married, did all the whatever they want, and then had sex a minute later than when they did. You would be a completely different human being if they would have done a minute later. Like, think about that. Now let's say they meet each other, do all this stuff. Now let's say that you're born, and then at 6 years old, you lose your leg. Okay, well, you didn't lose your leg. Now let's say, let's move it a step further. Now let's say that you didn't come in contact with the person that helped you come here. You didn't get a job at Allstate. You didn't find out about this entire thing. You wouldn't be here today. Like, the possibility of you sitting in this exact room, listening to a 14-year-old go off about, like, what he's doing is unbelievable. It's crazy. It should never have happened. But the fact that it is a reason for you to be grateful. It's a reason for you not to complain. Now, I complain. I'm 14. There's times where I feel like something happened unfair, and I get that. But my goal is to be 50 years old and to have mastered the art of never complaining. Gratitude is the place that you need to get into. Never, ever dwell on something for more than 24 hours. Like, never. Because as bad as it is, you look at the grand scheme of things, everything is a small thing in the big picture. Don't sweat the small stuff because everything's small stuff. Best piece of advice I ever gotten. I've gotten advice from the best of the best. I was actually sitting in the hot tub one day. Me and my dad were just chilling. We were having some talks and whatever. And the security guard walked up to us, and my dad's taught me, anytime you're in front of somebody, ask them a question. Try to learn. So I said, sir, what's your best piece of advice for me? Now, remind you, this security guard is making $60,000 a year. I mean, he's not like this massively successful human being. He says to me, don't sweat the small stuff because everything's small stuff. And that literally got to me because that's the truth. So make sure that you're staying grateful. Everybody write that down. Gratitude, I can get up here and spew motivation all I want to. You want real motivation? Stay grateful. You want real motivation? Don't go watch a motivational video. Don't go listen to a motivational song. Look at your kids. You want motivation? Look at your bank account. Look at all the amazing things. I'm done with that. I just got to go off of that for a second. Gratitude. Mastering sales, extremely important. Personal growth. The key to success, KEY, is to keep educating yourself. Always keep educating yourself. Health and fitness, it's all about the health. Foods affect moods, my friends. And then character, integrity. Number one thing is work ethics and ethics. Like, that's the thing. Work ethic and ethics, you'll be successful in business. You'll be successful in whatever you do. That's me right there. I want to throw these up just to show you guys. That's me, probably 8 years old, reading the success principles. There's me reading by the water. I forgot what I was reading, Derek Jeter or something like that. There's me making sales calls whenever I was a little bit younger. Secret number 4. I love whenever I'm on stage and I say, whenever I was young, or whenever I was a kid, and everybody starts cracking up for some reason every time I say that, because, like, I'm still a kid. I don't know. Secret number 4, I started providing value to people. Now, a lot of you guys are providing $100 value and expecting $1 million income. Ooh, that's raw right there. A lot of you guys are providing $100 value and expecting $1 million income. At the end of the day, the person that provides the most value will always succeed in business. The reason Apple's as big as it is because of the amazing things they can do. Which, by the way, you're not a business person if you have a Samsung or an Android, but I'm just saying that. But that's why Apple's so big. That's why all these companies are so big. The number one companies provide the most value, have the best customer service. Let me give you an example. Grant Cardone. Now, Grant Cardone, he's the author of the 10X Rule. He owns a $500 million real estate company. He's written, like, 4 or 5 New York Times bestsellers. He's unbelievable in all the things he's done. It's crazy. Now, on social media has been one of the biggest ways I've made $100,000 because that's got me connections, this amazing team, which I wish we could give another hand clap for them. Let's just do that real quick. They're unbelievable. I mean, they all found me through social media, all this stuff. But so I started off on this app called Periscope. I started off my social media on this app called Periscope. Now, Periscope is basically a live video stream. And at the time, I probably had 30 followers on Periscope, okay? 30 followers. Nothing. That's like, I'm better off going to the street and talking to 30 different people. I'd probably provide more value than that. So I had 30 followers at the time, and I was doing all these Periscopes, and I was devastated because I would have like 6 viewers, 9 viewers. It was extremely minimal, like nothing, no viewers at all. I was like, man, I was devastated. And then one day, this Periscope had literally probably 5 viewers on it. 5 human beings watched my Periscope. And one of the viewers was actually Grant Cardone's sister, okay? Now, she found me through Periscope somehow, and it was one of my best Periscopes because I was absolutely on fire. I was giving motivation as if I had a million people watching it. Like, it was like I was all in, providing as much value as possible. And his sister watched that Periscope, reached out to me and said, hey, I know that you only have a certain amount of viewers, but you just provided more value than any Periscope I've ever seen. She said, I'm actually Grant Cardone's sister. And you got to understand how big this was for me. Because, like, Grant was one of the only people that I watched whenever I was younger. Like, he was the guy. And she reached out to Grant. She texted him and got us in contact. Long story short, he started promoting me. Today I have 110,000 followers on Facebook. All this amazing stuff's happened. But he just kind of blew me up and did all this amazing stuff for me. And I didn't interview. You can see in this picture, I didn't interview on he interviewed me on his network. See that? No negativity allowed, kind of what I was just going off about. But that's the truth. I mean, like, that's what happened. And the reason why is I didn't care how many viewers was on my thing. Yes, it devastated me a little bit. Yes, I was like, man, that stinks. But all I focused on was providing value. That was the only thing. The only driving focus of me was like, how can I provide more value than all the other Periscopes? How can I do more than this person or that person? That's what happened. And from that, I got that amazing connection. But I provided value to get that. So I'm not just saying providing value on social media, which although that's extremely important, I'm saying whatever you can do to provide value. In your business, if you can be the number one person, you will always win. You can be the cheapest price and still be the most expensive. Now, what I mean by that is you can have your competitor can have $1,000. It can be $1,000 for their price. You can be $10,000, but if you provide way more value than the person that's doing $1,000, yours is actually less because you're giving them more value. Value is key. I'll tell you another story about this. You see in that picture, I was just talking about Russell Brunson. Now, Russell Brunson is unbelievable. Now, Russell Brunson founded me through Facebook because I do all these videos. They've blown up in this amazing stuff. And I did this one video. All I was focused on is providing value. I literally put out, there's probably a couple hundred Facebook videos on my Facebook. And he caught one of them, so he reached out to me. It's actually a cool story how he did it. It shows how successful people think. But he found out about me through Facebook. He looked through and he found some of my friends, and he tried to find one person he knew he could get contact with me through. That he could like reach out to them because he wanted to be my friend after watching this video for some reason. So he said, okay, I'm going to reach out to this guy. And he literally paid this guy $5,000 just so he could get a connection with me. Like, it was unbelievable how it happened. But it shows like how they make connections. But the reason why he found me, and I was just on a reality TV show with him yesterday, the reason why he found me is because I provided value. Like, that was my driving focus. So you can do all this amazing stuff. You can work hard. You can practice the law of attraction. You can do whatever, all these keys to success. But if you're not providing value, if your product sucks, you're never going to have success. You won't. You won't. So that's him by the Corvette. I try to convince him to give that to me when I'm 16 or something. But it's pretty cool. Secret number 5. Now, I've said everyone pay attention because I hope you pay attention to all of them. They're really big. Number one thing, secret number 5. So I've had a bunch of viral videos where I've said work my face off. You got to work your face off. Like, one video has 4 million views, and at the end I was like, work your face off. So that quote that I've said, work your face off, has gone extremely viral. But what people don't understand is even more important for me than working my face off was I gave my face off. I gave. That was the number thing. So people see me from afar, and they're probably like, this kid maybe had a silver spoon or all this, which, by the way, you guys don't even know my story. It's pretty, listen, you'll see it maybe on some interviews later on. But you guys can hire me back next year, and we'll work that out. But I gave my face off. This is what I did, okay? So you guys see me from afar. You've seen what I've done. You see I work because I probably put in more hours than the average adult does. I put in 12 to 13-hour days, and the rest I'm thinking about working. Like, that's what I do. But the number one thing that I've done is give. And I've been on over 53 mission trips in my entire life because my dad owned this movement called Mission 25, which, by the way, say what's up, Dad. So you see that guy? That's the greatest human being on the planet. Let's clap it up for him. No, I'm serious. I was telling them the other day, or I was telling them yesterday, whenever people message me and you're only successful because of your dad, I don't have a response because that's true. I am only successful because of my dad. He's unbelievable. But he took me on over 53 mission trips because he owned a missions movement called Mission 25 where we took missions trips in America. And I've been on over 53 missions trips, and it showed me the amount of brokenness out there. I don't think we realize we're okay, the third world countries, all this is going on. It's unbelievable. But the stuff that's going on in our own country is crazy. I've seen veterans, I've seen kids that their parents died and they're sleeping in the shelter with no pillow, head on concrete, basically sleeping on the floor. It's unbelievable what I've seen. But the number one thing that's worked for me is giving. Now, a lot of people, whenever nothing's going good, a lot of people try to work their way through it. They try to grow their way through it. They try to do all that stuff. That stuff's great, but I'll tell you this. When nothing is going good, do something good for somebody else. When nothing is going good, do something good for somebody else. So let me tell you guys this story. There was this week that was going on for me where everything was going wrong. Everything was going south. Everything was was awful. I was feeling down. It was just the worst. Dare I say, I was feeling a little bit depressed, for real. And I was what is wrong? I'm not getting speaking opportunities, not getting interviews. I'm getting all these bad grades in school. All this stuff is going on. It was just spinning me around. And I remembered what my dad told me, which is when nothing's going good, do something good for somebody else. So I sat down and I made 50 phone calls in a row, not one sale out of all of them. I think I made one or two. So what I did is I was I'm done. I'm not going to make another call. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to go give as much as I can. That was the number one thing last time I did. I'm just going to go give. So what I did is I went out and I knew that there's this local restaurant, this local store that was nearby our house. And I knew of this single mother who had 6 kids and her, I think the dad had committed suicide or the dad had at least left them or something like that. And she had an extremely tough time. So what I did is I went into my bank account and I pulled out a $100 bill. And I pulled out this $100 bill. I walked up to the single mother and I just you know what, have this. I just gave it to her. And this is probably a couple months ago. I just gave her this $100 bill. And she literally looked me in the eyes and started bawling. She started weeping. And she said to me, if you had not have given me this $100 bill, I wouldn't have been able to put food on my kid's table tonight. And in that moment, it really it brought perspective to me. Because, see, I've closed $10,000 sales. There's a video on YouTube that's gone really big of me closing a $10,000 sale. But as awesome as it is that I've made $100,000, as awesome it is that I've closed $10,000 sales, done this or that, been on these interviews, gotten viral videos, I felt way better giving that single mother an $100 bill than I did making $10,000. That's the truth. So I gave her, thank you. And no, it's serious. That always gets the most claps because I think it's the most true. It's all about giving. So I did that. So it's okay, I'm not done. I still have to give more. So I bought probably 20, no, not 20. That's a huge exaggeration. Probably 5 sleeping bags. And I went out to the homeless and I just gave them these 5 sleeping bags because it was cold. We live in Florida, so it's not cold, but it was still chilly. So we gave these 5 sleeping bags. They were done. They wanted to cry. They loved it. So then I called up this single mother that I had been selling my company, Kids for Success, to. I kept trying to get her in, and her husband had committed suicide, and she had a 8-year-old son, I believe it was. And I talked to him. I was you know what? Listen, I'm done. Listen, I understand you can't afford it. I totally get it. There's no objection I can handle here. I said, you know what? Let me just give it to you. So I gave her this, and I actually added in as well where I would give her a weekly coaching call with her son. So I started doing a weekly coaching call. I gave him all my programs. I just helped this kid as much as possible. He's doing great now. But after doing these 3 things, I sat down and I was man, I feel a lot better. But I'm waiting for some results now. Feeling good's good, but let's get the dough, So I sat down and I was man. So I heard this ting, it was on my phone, ting. And I looked at it. It was a Facebook message. And the Facebook message was from a guy named Glenn Twiddle. Now, Glenn Twiddle, he invited me out to speak in Sydney, Australia, with Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, Gary Vaynerchuk, he's enormous. He was one of my idols. One of my favorite people. That was another goal that I had. I will speak with Gary Vaynerchuk. That was a goal, and I wanted to do it within a year. And I got this opportunity, and he's I want you to come speak out here. We'll pay you whatever you want. And we worked out the entire thing. And like, it was one of the greatest opportunities ever. I got all this amazing stuff to come out of this. It literally blew me up. Like, that was one of the things that shot me to the moon. And in that moment, it made me realize that when nothing's going good, you can't hustle your way out of it. You can. Please hustle. That's my message. But that's not the only thing that you can do. You can't learn your way out of it. You can't have your dad give you some money to help you out. Yes, that stuff will help. But the number one thing is give something back to somebody else. Like, make that your focus. And here's a picture. That's me. That was one of my first major keynotes with me and Gary Vaynerchuk. That's me and him. He gave me a Snapchat shout out, which was cool. But that's what it's about, guys. It's about giving. And here's some pictures just to prove to you that I have given. That's me with a I think it was 70-year-old woman who was homeless. There's me as well. That's a fatherless kid, giving him a bike. That was one fatherless kid's shoes, and me and my dad have a rule. Anytime there's a fatherless kid that doesn't have nice shoes, we buy them some new ones. So those are some pretty sweet kicks right there. But that's the message. That's the final message of the day is like, I've made $100,000. I made more than $100,000. I'll be a millionaire this year. It's going to happen. But it's all about giving back. And I want you guys to follow those 5 things because amazing things will happen. I'm going to be speaking with Tony Robbins in February. Now, it doesn't get bigger than Tony Robbins, but I truly believe because there's a lot of other kids out there that are trying to do Facebook videos, that are making sales calls, that are hustling to own their own business. But I think the number one thing for me has been giving. And that's my message. That's the most motivational thing I can say. It's not going to have you guys like, let's go. But it's one thing that if you would actually do it, it'll change your life. So that's my message there. Follow those 5 things, guys. Those are the secrets to how I made $100,000 by 14 years old. And if guys, and I want to say this real quick before we go. I give a lot of information today, a lot of simple things that really can help you guys. But I want you to understand this. This is the formula for success. Information plus application equals transformation. A lot of people, they're constantly trying to get information, but they're not having success because they're lacking the action it takes necessary to have it. Now, if you guys come to this conference, I know it was unbelievable. I've already heard some of the speakers, and just sitting there, their advice that they gave me, I collected advice from everybody I could on this team. They're unbelievable advice. But I'll tell you guys this. If you don't apply the advice that they gave you, it's just going to be like you spent 2 days in Denver, or you just flew out here just to sit in a room and look at the wall. Like, that's basically what it is. You're not going to have success without the application. Information plus application equals transformation. So sit down and say, what are some actual practical things that I can do from this conference? Because I've gone to plenty, I've studied plenty of books, I've done plenty of stuff, and I've not applied it, and it leads to destruction. Information without application leads to devastation. I guess we can say it that way. You see the rhymes I'm just throwing out there? So guys, final thing I want to say, listen, if you want a copy of my slides, take a picture of that if you want. The slides, you can just remember that, write it down. Just email me, calebmax@gmail.com. I'll send over all of the slides that we just had, just in case you guys want to have them or remember them. But guys, listen, I really appreciate your guys' time. I wish that we could take some Q&A, but I know that the time just ran out. So you guys are the best. I really appreciate it. And God bless. Keep it up.